Everybody wants to have the latest Wonderkids or get great youth intake, but there isn't much conversation about how to improve and develop these Wonderkids and young players from your youth intake, and that is what today's video is all about. We will talk on the importance of youth coaches, youth training and schedules, match time and mentoring, as all of those can have great effect. What are great attributes for youth coaches, great attributes for youth players to develop from, and why is balancing match time with training important? Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is RDF from FMSCOUT, and today's training is all about youth training. We are going to talk about how to get the best from training in order to develop your Wonderkids or those players that came from your youth intake. And before we do get started, if you are new or you haven't yet, make sure you hit subscribe, hit like and leave a comment on this video. It will help us out a lot. But for now, let's get started. And the very first thing we are going to talk about is your coaches. Now, not a lot of people might actually go to this screen straight away. If you do start a new game or you're playing a current save, a lot of people spend time on their main staff pages. This is the main staff page where your first team coaches will be, but not a lot of people actually check the under 18 coaches because you need to. You need to have good coaches, of course, in order for your young players to develop, especially those in the under 18s. So we are in the under 18s team and we're going to check the youth coaching. We have 2 fitness coaches and we have a goalkeeping coach, but we don't have just a normal coach. Someone that's going to do technical coaching, defending coaching. At the moment, that responsibility is on Kill Gilgard, the assistant manager, and myself, if I remember correctly. So number one, of course, is get great coaches. So we are going to do a little star search to try and find some great coaches. We're going to find out what attributes are actually good for youth coaches. Of course, number one would be working with youngsters. You need to be good at working with youngsters. Now, I recommend you to go for specialist roles. That means someone that is really good at coaching defending, or a technical coach, someone that is very good at coaching technical abilities. Or you can go for someone that's just a good all-round coach. And one important attribute for good all-round coaches is the mental. So if you are going for all-round coaches, make sure all coaches have decent mental ability, but you also want to go for the main coaching attributes, which would be determination, motivation and level of discipline. So now we're just going to boost those down to round 12 and we're going to add attacking. From here, we're going to put the working with youngsters back to 15, and we're also going to sort the search. So we're only going to find some coaches that are just available or interested in joining my youth team, and we're going to search for coaches. So here we are, we have a list of coaches that are decent attacking coaches and that are available for me to sign. But we aren't just going to stop right there, we are going to search by personality. Personality is very, very important for youth coaches because your youth players can then take on personalities. So someone like Brian McBride, he has a model personality. He is a coach. His attacking is currently on 12, so he's not the best coach, but he could be good enough for my youth team. I will then go through all of these coaches. So we've got a very ambitious coach, we've got a spirited coach, a resolute, fairly determined, fairly professional. So I will go through all of these coaches, find out which ones are actually good, and if the personality matches, then I will go and approach to sign them. I will use this method for everything. So if it's attacking coaching, defending coaching, so I will just do defending coaching right now, lower those back to 12. We have 4 coaches with the perfectionist mentality. I would of course check those coaches first. Richard Money is not a bad coach. Thomas Kiers is certainly not a bad coach, and neither is Josh. I don't even want to pronounce that surname. But you can see here there are many good coaches that I can approach for my under 18s. This is the method that I would use to search for my under 18 coaches. So remember, if you start a new save or you want to sort out your under 18 coaches, then hit this page here, find out if your coaches are even good enough at the moment. If they are not, examine why, research why. If you have bad coaches in your under 18s, then get rid of them. They are no good for you, and then go on a staff search just like I did before, and then you can find some great coaches. So number one is your youth coaches. They are very important. The next thing we're going to look at now is the schedules. Now, not a lot of people actually bother with schedules in the youth team, and they should. It could be important. Now, for me, when it comes to training, I like to personally set up individual training. So for my centre backs, if I like ball playing defenders, or if that's what I want them to be better at, then I will simply select ball playing defender. That is important when it comes to schedules. The reason being, when it comes to creating a schedule now, so I would just use a preset, something like attacking, and then I would edit. Now, this is the little secret part. If I use attack and movement, you can see now the attributes they are improving on is their individual role attributes, what I just set on my players. So that central defender who I set on ball playing defender would now be improving their individual roles when it comes to attack and movement schedules. This is what I would do. Match practice is another one that improves individual roles. Attack and movement, defensive shape. These schedules improve the attributes that you are focusing on in the individual training. So if I set my attacker midfielder on the advanced playmaker, those advanced playmaker attributes are what he is going to be focusing on when we are doing our attack and movement. Now, I'm not sure how many of you guys actually know this, so hopefully this is a useful tip for you. Something like physical as well, that's not something that I am very big on when it comes to youth training, especially during the season. So I would usually change one, and it's usually something like goalkeeper training, because again, something like goalkeeper training, your attacking unit and your defensive unit are focusing on their individual roles, whilst your goalkeeper is getting the primary focus, but he's of course improving on his goalkeeper attributes. As you can see, there's not a lot of focus on your goalkeeper, so that is what I usually do. I like to transfer one of the physical schedules for a goalkeeper schedules, and then I also tweak some of the later schedules like the attacking patient, attacking direct. I like to swap those for attacking movement because those are focusing on the individual roles. These general training schedules I would keep because they are focusing on other attributes that the individual training might not be focusing on, so you of course don't want to miss out on improvements in other areas. This setup here is similar to what I would use in all of my youth training. Yes, in long-term saves I do control my youth schedules. I do not let the head of youth do it. I don't let my assistant manager do it. I personally do it because I want my youth players to develop. Now, from here, I simply just do that. I would save this so we can save it as one. I will go to my calendar, and it's really not that much of a headache for you to control this because you can just simply load it up 1 week, select copy, paste, paste, paste. You could do that throughout the whole season, so you aren't changing your under 18s training every single week. Of course, you need to make sure that you are controlling, you are responsible for it, and you can just simply go to under 18s training and make sure you are responsible. You can also go to your staff's responsibility, go to training and do it that way. One last thing that I almost forgot about, and it's actually very important, is the rest sessions. Now, these are important. You need your young players to rest. Resting is just as important as all of these schedules. You do not want to burn out your youngsters. They need to have a long career. They don't want to start picking up injuries from early, and then those injuries turn that player into an injury prone player. That is something that you want to avoid. That is something you don't want. One way to avoid that is simply do not overload your youth training. You don't need to overload your youth training. Just the right amount of training would help your youth players develop. Another thing that is important, of course, a lot of you would know this, and a lot of you are probably dying to do this, is match time. Your youngsters need some match time. Now, we are in the under 18s. It is important for those 18 or under. Training is more important than match time. So don't go thinking that your 16-year-old needs to play games. No, your 16-year-old can just sit in your under 18s and develop through training. Of course, your under 18s will be playing matches too, but training is way more important than match time. That is not cancelling out match time whatsoever. You can also give your youngsters match time. I personally like to reward the better youngsters in my team with the match time. So you can see here we have Joel Idaho, we have Miguel Aziz, and we have Salah. Some of these players I will be looking throughout the season to give match time, but I will be giving them match time in cup games I can afford to give them match time in. So we have Salah here, and throughout the season I will be looking to give him around 5 games that could be either starting or coming on as a sub. He really doesn't need to play that many games, not at this young age, but if he has the talent for it, then why not? If he's 17 and he's literally like a 3-star player, someone that can actually be a squad player, then I'm not telling you don't play that player, but training is more important. Even if he's in your first team, you shouldn't be selecting your youngsters every single match for them to play. Training is equally as important, so is resting. Now, there are 2 more things I want to touch on. I want to touch on individual training, and I also want to touch on mentoring. So I will start off with mentoring. How do you mentor your young players? Simply go to training, go to mentoring. You can ask your assistant simply by asking your assistant to assign those players. But when he does assign mentoring groups, he will only assign those currently in the first team. So if you do want to mentor a player, someone like Salah, I don't really need to mentor. He's got a determined personality. He's got very good determination. There's not something that I really want him to take away from a key player at this moment. But someone like Miguel Aziz, you can see his personality is on balance. His determination is currently on 10. If I want to try and improve that, I would then promote him to my first team. I will move him to my senior squad, go back to training, go back to mentoring, and then I will put him in a mentoring group where the team leader would have a significant effect on the group and the player would have a great effect. Miguel Aziz, I'm going to add him, and you can see that the effect from this group would be significant, and Willian's estimated influence in this group is going to be significant. So Miguel Aziz will benefit a lot from Willian, and Willian has a very good determination and his personality is fairly determined. So I am expecting Willian to transfer some of his determination over to Miguel Aziz at the end of the season. I do expect this determination attribute to have grown. I'm not expecting it to go to 16 just like Willian. That's not what we're expecting here. We want this to grow to a respectable number, because then it also affects his personality. He could then have more of a positive mentality, and that gives him the solid foundations to go and reach his potential ability. So mentoring can be important for youth players. Lastly, now we are going to be talking about how do we do individual training. Well, this part is actually down to you. I wouldn't really say or necessarily say there is one way of doing this. Make sure you do this way to benefit your youngsters to develop. There is not really a single way to do this. Now, you can develop on someone's best current attributes. So someone like Salah, you can see his technique, passing, vision. Those are his key attributes at this moment. So his decision making. Oh, he's a decent player. Who is this Salah? But something like advanced playmaker, as we know, advanced playmaker heavily focuses on those attributes. So if we use advanced playmaker in training, he's going to be developing on those attributes that he's really good at already, and what he is really good at would then develop to be really great at. Or you can go for the method that develops the attributes that aren't as good as the other ones. So something like composure, something like off the ball, something like agility, balance aren't obviously as good as his passing, vision and work rate. So you can go through some of these individual roles to try and work out the best one that develops those weak link attributes. If his finishing is on 2, it doesn't mean that is a weak link attribute. It depends on how you plan to use that player. If you use him as a shadow striker, of course, then you want to improve those attributes. But something like advanced playmaker doesn't focus on balance. Now, if that's something that you want to focus on, you can either give them an additional focus to improve on those attributes you want to improve on, or you can just simply give them a role that focuses on those attributes. Something like shadow striker, it focuses on those attributes, but then it doesn't focus on the vision. But what you can do, again, go to additional focus, put on passing, and it's going to develop those attributes that he's already good at: passing, vision, technique. He's going to develop on those attributes whilst also developing on the attributes that he isn't really good at, like concentration is on 4, but shadow striker covers that. Advanced playmaker doesn't cover that, as we can see here, and there is no additional focus that helps you improve on your concentration. Only a role can, and shadow striker is one of those roles that focuses on concentration, and it also focuses on balance. For someone like Salah, I will be giving him the shadow striker on attack duty, additional focus of passing. I would leave the intensity as normal. I wouldn't give it double, because someone like Arsenal's under 18s actually play a lot of games. I think they're in the Europe League, so you could end up playing a lot of games for the under 18s, and on a double intensity, I mean, again, you could just be burning out your youngster. But that is it for this video on how to develop your Wonderkids or your youth intake players. I hope you have found this video very useful, and I hope you do use some of these tricks or hints or guides, whatever it is. My name is RDF. It has been a pleasure speaking to you. It has been a pleasure recording this video. Don't forget, if you are new or you haven't yet, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. I will see you soon. Peace out, and please stay safe.